Ethiopia has 12 water basins with a combined estimated surface water resource potential of 123 billion cubic meters. The nation's groundwater potential is close to 26 billion cubic meters. The country has 11 freshwaters and 9 saline lakes, 4 crater lakes, and over 12 major swamps and wetlands. It also has 9 major rivers, 5 of which are transboundary. For this abundance of water resources, the country is often referred to as the water tower of Africa. Many of these water bodies provide the country with significant economic, touristic, and social benefits, among others. They also produce an ecological equilibrium in the environment, which help the sustenance of various fauna and flora and climatic stabilization. Rift Valley Basin is home for 7 of the country's lakes. For the past many years, all these lakes have served as sources of water for irrigation, fishery, mining, domestic use, and the like.
ቦታው ለእርሻም ለማስፋፋት ለኢንዱስትሪም ለማስፋፋት ምቹ
However, the lakes are currently facing threats owing to various forms of human and natural factors.
And you also have expanding textile industries in the basin itself. You have got construction, which is also on the increase in the basin, because as the human population is increasing, demand for houses is also increasing, and demand for shopping malls and office accommodation is increasing. So when you go into a town like ours, you then see a lot of sand mining, and the sand that's being mined is driven by the demand in the construction sector. So land use practices, expanding industry. If you go to Abiata, Lake Abiata, we have soda ash, which is actually, as I speak right now, labeled as the source of pollution for that water body.
So upstream lakes, particularly around Abiata, Shala and Zwai, the main issue actually are sediments and water pollution by different types of pollutants, chemical as well as anthropogenic induced pollution sources. When we come to the middle reach, particularly Abaya, Chamo and Hawassa Lake, urbanization actually is one of the issues we are going to tackle, which actually affects and going to affect also the lake, plus pollution and sedimentation also. When you go to Lake Zuwai, okay, around the lake you can find more than thousands of water pumps pumping water from the Lake Zuwai for irrigation purpose. Similarly in Lake Hawassa, similar issue is now realized because of irrigation, because it is one of, we are not against of irrigation, but the amount of water abstracting for irrigation purpose should have to be monitored. Okay, it has to be in balance with the amount of water coming in. Otherwise, it actually induces a significant impact on the lake. Directly, when you pump water from the lake, okay, you are even pumping the hatched small fishes.
In this basin, there are serious problems related to water resource potential, use and allocation. The very first problem is water resource potential, use and allocation. The second is the water quality problem. The third is the water resource management issue, and the other is disasters and the risks. So just to explain those 4 major problems in detail, the first is just the surface water resource is very scarce, and the flow is getting lesser and lesser due to changes related to climate. The other is watershed management problem.
ከተፈጥሮ ጉዳቶች ይልቅ በብዛት ጎልቶ የሚታየው
water hyacinth or emboj has been threatening Lake Tana over the past couple of years. Lake Abaya remains unsafe in this regard.
People now currently talk about the water hyacinth issue on Tana Lake, but the problem is highly significant in Abaya Lake.
The water hyacinth is going to expand, especially that what we call emboj, which already invaded Lake Tana, is coming to be very intensive, especially, and it's coming to be very wider in Abaya Lake.
Scholars say agriculture relying on the lakes does not only consume water, but also aggravates sedimentation to the lakes. This dramatically decreases the lake's volume and surface albedo, which in turn increases the rate of evaporation. It also brings to the lake's fertilizers, thereby creating a favorable condition for the growth of aquatic plants in the water, including hyacinths.
Because of high agricultural fertilizer application, the water hyacinth is going to expand, especially that what we call emboj, which already invaded Lake Tana, is coming to be very intensive, especially, and it's coming to be very wider in Abaya Lake, especially. And the other is the sedimentation. Because of the sedimentation, the lake level is increasing, and the bottom of the lake is filled by this sedimentation.
ማዳበሪያ ያለ የተለያዩ ኑትሪንቶች አሉ። እነሱ ደግሞ እዛ ሐይቅ ውስጥ ሲገባ ለተለያዩ እጽዋት
Farming on buffer zone does not only transport soil to the water but also takes nutrients which create a favorable condition to the growth of plants all over the edge of the lake. Such plants coupled with recurrent sedimentation occupy significant volume of the lake. This makes the lake appear rising, but the reality it is shrinking for being filled with sediment and plants.
Moreover, the Rift Valley Basin has not received sufficient attention when it comes to efficient water resource development and use.
የተቀናጀ ውሃ ሀብት አስተዳደር ለማስፈን
In what seems to be an irreversible change around the world, lakes are vanishing forever from the face of the earth. Ethiopia has already lost 3 of its invaluable lakes, Haromaya, Chalaleka and Adele. Researchers warn that all or some of Rift Valley lakes may also dry up.
It is possible that if the government doesn't take action, that other lakes can also actually shrink and disappear. And just to contextualize this, between 1999 to 2011, a study has shown that Lake Hawassa shrunk by 4%. It actually means it lost its size or water storage capacity by 4%. And this is just in a decade. And if you look at the increased land degradation associated with increased human population and the expansion of industries, then you can actually see that maybe another 4% has been already lost between 2011 up to now. So we can say it has reduced its size by 8%. So, cast that into the future. Possibilities are, if we don't take action now, Lake Hawassa can also disappear.
But we also lost one big lake in Hawassa, okay, Lake Shalu or Lake Chalalaka, okay. In 1973 we have about 70 km square lake, okay, in the middle of the swamp area. Now it is swamp, okay. Not only Aromaya Lake, we also lost one lake nearby here in Hawassa. Okay, so this issue, now the next will be of either Aviata or it could be Hawassa, we don't know. But with the current scenario, when we physically observe, in some lakes they may show some stage rise. Doesn't mean they are increasing in size, because some places below actually are occupied by sediments. So one of the big disasters in such type of lakes actually are sediments. Physically you see, but when you measure it, the volume of water actually is diminishing time to time. Currently, if we consider the direct abstraction of water, Lake Zwai and Lake Hawassa actually are under big stress. Okay, when you see, for instance, around the periphery of the lakes, you can find thousands of ponds.
Rich in chemicals, Lake Abiara stands different. It is on the brink of vanishing to the last drop.
It's a good indicator when you see Abiata, okay, it's on the verge of now collapsing, okay. 3 kilometers from its original location in 1973 means it is a huge disaster.
The water of Lake Abiara has now receded to a few kilometers away from its original location. This happened since the establishment of a soda ash factory, residents told ATV.
I have been employed in this factory for the past 35 years. Prior to the establishment of this factory, the water was near that village. Later, it gradually receded, particularly after this pump was planted. Despite fluctuations in the water level during drought seasons, it used to maintain its original height before the water pump was planted.
This is the first place where the factory erected the water pump. It pumps the lake water to an isolated pool for sodium carbonate, which is an input to the factory. The factory now has replanted its water pump at a third point, moving close to the lake as its water continues to shrink. This trend, along with climate change, makes it more likely for Lake Abiara to dry up sooner than might seem to many. Some of these destructive trends, particularly human-induced ones, could have been fended off with efficient policy and legal tools.
Ethiopia has got very good water policy matrix or landscape. The pieces of policies that they have in place at the moment, which they are also reviewing, are very good and adequate for achieving water security in the country. The Constitution itself speaks about a right to a clean environment, and water is part of the environment. The Water Resource Management Policy 1999, 2001, the Water Sector Strategy, they are very clear of what needs to be done. They are also very clear of what are the issues in terms of water resource management in the country. And again, what then I see as needing attention is moving from policy to procedure to implementation. That step needs to be supported and strengthened, translating the good policies into action for the benefit of water resources. The content of the policies is very adequate, and also I must say the content of the policies, if you look at the articles, they are very much in sync with international practice, like transboundary water management. If you look at the water sector strategy, it clearly talks about how Ethiopia must manage transboundary water resources step by step. It also gives you step-by-step guide on how to mainstream gender into the water sector itself. But remembering that the policies are just guiding principles, which can only give you impact if they are properly implemented. And to implement them, you need not just a strategy, but legislation. So what I see here as a gap in terms of policy is legislation is lagging behind. So the principles are there, but legislation that then makes it easy to implement is what is lagging. So the government simply needs to put more effort in legislation, coming up with laws or do's and don'ts in terms of using and managing water, and then making sure that connected to those do's and don'ts there is clear mechanisms for control, for punishing people who break these laws. That's what's not strong for me at the moment.
Meanwhile, the government has come to understand the gravity of the situation and has well comprehended the threats to the lakes. It has been exerting efforts towards creating opportunities to saving the lakes, sustaining their benefits, and maintaining equilibrium of the ecosystem. The 15-year Rift Valley Basin Development Plan under progress takes the lion's share of these endeavors.
Now we are accelerating the basin planning processes and helping them to analyze the issues in a more systemic and detailed manner, so that the interventions that they recommend for implementation are actually responsive to where it hurts the most. So for example, what is it that the basin office is going to do in terms of improving landscape management? How is the basin office going to make sure that water resource planning is now participatory and it includes all different ministries, not just water ministry? So in that basin plan, you have all these integrated aspects of water planning reflected, and we felt like they needed support. It's going on very well.
The new approach has many stakes, primary among which are universities within the basin territory.
Currently we are working with all the existing 10 universities in Rift Valley Lake Basins. We have a forum, okay? And at the end of the day, our ultimate objective actually is to be center of knowledge, a center of competencies in water resource development and management. So accordingly, I'm just asking them again to sit together.
Now the Basin Authority is planning to take collaboration with almost 10 universities in these basins, and those 10 universities just contribute to their catchment areas for restoration of these basin problems.
Government efforts so far have proved promising, officials and experts say.
በዚህ ተፋሰስ ብቻ ከ25 በላይ
In Lake Hawassa sub-basin only there are over 25 gullies or small valleys. These all take substantial amount of sediments to the lake whenever it rains. Because of the physical and biological works undertaken in the district around this sub-basin, the sediment could be reduced. These gabions or retention walls were built 5 years ago. It was 2 meters high, but as you see it now, it is covered with the soil it retained.
Still further remedial recommendations continue to flow from experts.
Policy review and mainstreaming, making sure that we reduce the tensions between the different policy instruments, between the different ministries, key. And the second is to make sure that the policies that regulate the way we manage water and use and allocate water are adequately funded. And why do I say this? It's not only in Ethiopia. Many other African countries have got very good water resource management policies. But where they struggle is implementation and enforcement legislation, the rules and regulations.
The first one actually is to get awareness on the issues with regard to their management, either so with the politicians as well as the local community, because the anthropogenic impact is by far bigger than the other impacts summed up together. So accordingly, when you see, for instance, in the area of policy issues, there are a number of greenhouses in this particular lake basin. Okay, so there has to be some points where the limit should have to be set. Without that, it's impossible. If everyone is just looking for water, and if we are just giving for land, okay, where is the threshold level? We have to, because currently we know the amount of water available in the lake basin, the total amount of water. Come together, let's plan it. All the industries in the basin, for the decision makers, particularly for the policy makers, okay, it's better to devise important policy documents based on facts. Okay, there are plenty of factors in the basin. Now this is the time to act. For the policymakers should have to be concerned. All the 10 universities in the basin, I'm just begging them to come together for the betterment of this particular sensitive ecosystem.